Are you ready to reach your true potential and discover your authentic voice?
Introducing Rise and Thrive Empowering Minds, a series that will transform your life.
Rise. This is a journey about empowering youth and adult minds to step up, stand strong, and embrace their full potential. Rise above challenges and discover your strengths. Learn to build self-confidence and handle challenging situations while being genuinely you. Stand tall and face life's ups and downs. And by embracing your unique perspective, you can develop skills to overcome obstacles and build resilience. Elevate your life by finding purpose and balance. Grow beyond your limits and reach new heights by living a fulfilling life that is true to you at any age.
Of course, thrive. Don't just survive. Learn to make friends, deal with bullies, and feel good about yourself by expressing your authentic thoughts and feelings. Flourish in your relationships and studies. Discover how to manage stress, build a bright future, and stay aligned with your values. Excel in all areas. Find joy in everyday moments and create meaningful connections by letting your unique personality shine. Rise and Thrive, Empowering Minds. We offer practical tips for building stronger relationships through authentic communication,
strategies to boost self-esteem and confidence by embracing your true self,
tools to overcome obstacles with ease while staying true to your values,
techniques to find joy in everyday life by expressing your authentic voice.
And most importantly, we'll share our unique and genuine stories to connect, showing you that if we can do it, so can you.
So join us for this exciting journey of growth and self-discovery. Together, we can create a community where everyone can rise, thrive, and empower their minds while uncovering their authentic voices.
Remember, rising and thriving go beyond mere success. It's about living a fulfilling life at any age by being authentically you. Express your true self, share unique gifts and talents with the world, and make a lasting positive impact. Don't just survive.
Rise and thrive. Empower your mind.
Find your authentic voice.
And transform not only your life,
but also
the lives of others today.
See you soon. Yay! Welcome. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening to anyone who's tuning in or watching or listening to us right now. Oh my God. It's so interesting. We're seeing like multiple screens.
Yeah, we are. And we did have a couple technical difficulties, but
Yes,
we
and
worked
we
through
handled
them
it
and we
very
are
well.
glad to be here.
Yes, indeed,
Yes.
indeed. So let's dive in, shall we, Antoine?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So first of all, everyone can see that the first episode topic will be resilience. But before we dive into resilience, of course, we would love to provide a little bit of inspiration or story of how we actually started this live series from knowing each other and then having that the spark, the idea. So could you share a little bit to us, Antoine or Coach T, how we actually managed to ended up doing this and the inspiration behind and all of that? Of course, your little story about yourself too.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. First and foremost, I am delighted to share the stage with you.
Yes.
And the way we came about was through a mutual connection. And we knew right away that we saw a lot of things the same. And for me, my story is about empowering the next generation of young people to be the best that they can be. And I do that through education, support, and inspiration. And I also have a nonprofit organization, JLT Fieldhouse, which is coaching and mentoring the leaders of tomorrow. And of course, I'm also an author of The Sea of Success, the ultimate guide to success for preteens and teens.
Awesome.
And what about you?
Me, oh my God, and likewise, it's amazing to be sharing this stage, virtual stage with you, Antoine. For me, I always share to people the story of mine coming from being people pleaser to being unstoppable, of owning your greatness within you and really working on your inner power. Just like Antoine, I am, in life and high performance coaching. So I help people not only to achieve a lot of incredible desires or goals, but really working on our inner power. I do believe that knowing ourselves in a deepest level is the most incredible gift that we can offer, not only to ourselves, but also to others. And that's why we come up as well with empowering minds, because this is not all about myself, but this is all about empowering other people as well. That when you start to bring authenticity in your life, you can really attract the person who you are being and to be of service to people. And on top of that, just like Antoine, I also host a podcast named Empower Your Life. And as a multi passionate, I don't stick with one face. So I have different things, different hats, a singer, and also I have a lot of things, and I love to do content creation as part of my promoting and bringing awareness about authenticity. And what really inspired me, is what Antoine mentioned, is that having that sincerity and genuine mission and purpose to really empower people. And most, in terms of clients in coaching, is I help most of the determined and ambitious leaders or individuals or professionals.
Awesome. And then one thing I neglected to mention was that we are also part of a really special group
Yes.
called the Village of Inspiration.
Yes, yes, yes. We want to bring awareness that, all of these things that we would love to achieve in life would be faster, effective, and efficient if we do it together. We're in it together as collective, and bringing this series together will bring more awareness and encouragement as well to our members or to other people out there who are as ambitious as we do to make an impact on this world. So,
Absolutely. And before we get going, if there is something we say in this episode that you may want to add a comment or have a question, feel free to leave it and we will get back to you. We won't be able to respond, obviously, while we're on, but you can rest assured that Cindy Marie or myself will definitely get back to you.
yes. So just to reiterate that you can definitely drop comments or questions, and we will try our very best to answer that towards the end of this episode. If not, we will definitely reach out to you or through the comments of answering your feedback or your questions, right? And so,
Absolutely.
Coach T, shall we
Yes.
begin to the first and foremost about resilience? What is resilience for you, Coach T? And could you share your personal story about that, and also your success story about resilience? It could be from anyone that you have coached, from anyone as your personal experience, or from anyone who shared it with you.
Yeah. I'm actually going to bundle that all with my experience because I think it's going to really tell what resilience is all about.
Mm.
For me, being a basketball coach for almost 40 years, a lot of people don't know I never made the team in high school. I got
Wow.
cut every year. And of course, early on, it's kind of hard to accept the fact that you weren't good enough. But I
Mm.
loved the sport so much that I knew that I had an opportunity to still be a part of a sport that I loved. And I said, you
Mm.
know what? I'm going to be the best coach I can be.
Oh.
So I took that love of sport, but also that failure of not making the team and put that energy and effort into being a coach and
Mm.
also to teach kids to be prepared to deal with failure, but also
Mm.
how to overcome failure. And that's my story of resilience and how I share it and pay it forward.
Yeah, that's that reminded me. Well, all of us have these stories to share about self-doubt and belittling ourselves, and of course the conditioning of our society. And for me, from what I'm hearing, I can resonate with you. It all back to corporate story for me, where as a people pleaser, you want to validate yourself that you're good enough, that you have something to offer. And over time, I just realized that, you know what, something that you can validate yourself, it has to start within. And so it took me long, long, long years. I think early 30s, I started to realize that, hang on a second, I have something to express. I have this powerful voice or story to share. And I just felt that my journey on that particular environment wasn't the place anymore for me to grow. And it's not easy when you've been in the corporate lifestyle. You are very stable in a lot of things. And then when you realize that you no longer fit into that, it takes a lot of courage, bravery, and boldness. And I am very grateful and proud to say that I managed to get out of that. And, since then, in terms of bouncing back to all of these challenges, I think I thought before I was already in a positive mindset, but then I actually realized back then I was still thinking as a victim mindset. Eventually, as when I started to dig into the discovery of coaching, I started to realize, oh my God, that even though I am optimistic as a person, the way I see things is still on a negative side. So that's why for me, I highlight being resilient is not only bouncing back or recovering from adversity, but also challenging the way you think in a more positive and elevated way, that you don't see challenges as negative. You see that as a fuel or opportunity for us to grow. So basically, from there on, I recognize that anything that, for example, the technical difficulty that we have, that's a challenge. That's a test for us, how we could be impatient, and also having that faith that things happening for a reason, testing us, how resilient are we of handling things. And so instead of feeling negative or, turning into disappointment or frustration, just looking at it as like, wow, that must be something that I can work on, because we want to provide this show or this episode in the most amazing way. But we are also working on a technology, and you and I were also working on it on hand in hand, which means that every day there's always new things. So even though we work on it, but on the day itself, there could be something that will pop up that we're not prepared. And that's actually the biggest magic that we could work on, because it's just like, bring it on.
Yeah.
What lessons would you like us to learn from here? So that's basically a very long story and also definition or explanation about resilience.
Yeah. And I think that that's really important to share. That you talked about the challenges of technology. That's a perfect example of what keeps a lot of people, meaning young and older people, from excelling and
Mm-hmm.
facing those challenges and overcoming them. I know from my perspective, in my household, my wife's the technology genius, not me. I have a problem, I go to her, I learn, but I also try for myself so that
Mm.
I build confidence
Mm-hmm.
through learning. And because
Mm-hmm.
we both know that life is a long time learning opportunity, and it's what we make of it.
Yeah, yeah. And Coach Antoine or Coach T, so because for you, you have been, interacting and coaching a lot of preteens or teens. And I'm very, very curious, and I'm very sure that people watching or tuning with us right now would love to hear at least one highlight of story that you could remember of someone that have shared with you an incredible resilience story. Do you have any that you could share with us?
Oh, there's a lot,
I know there are
but
a lot.
but there's one that I think really stands out, and this worked over probably a 7 year period. So you think
Wow.
about a fourth grader
Mm-hmm.
and working their way up and fighting through not feeling confident, not feeling good enough,
Mm,
and not trusting their abilities and
yeah.
trusting themselves. Well, I'll make a long story short. A young man that lacked confidence and resilience worked himself into being voted to the all tournament team and was single handedly part of winning a championship game in
Mm.
his eighth grade year. But
Mm.
what's amazing about it, after that game, he came to me and he said, Coach, thank you so much for believing in me.
Mm.
And I reminded him that I've always believed in him. He just didn't believe in himself. And
Mm-hmm.
once he started believing in himself, that's where all of the goodness started to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
he went on to play football in high school and is excelling in that. So it's all about just getting through that, breaking through that thin line of ice and then realizing what you're capable of. And that
Yeah.
story is one that stays with me
Mm.
because it was the work that he put into it. I gave him
Mm-hmm.
the tools, he did the building.
Oh wow, that's powerful. And I think, for young people out there, even though that they're behaving that they're independent, having that mentor or coach, whatever term that you can call it, and believing, it takes only one person, that's what they say. It takes only one person to believe in them so they can boost their self-esteem and self-confidence. And it always inspired me to hear all of those things. And there are so many based on real stories, movies that we can talk on and on and on how young people being really putting into their effort and knowing themselves better and just express their talents, and then wow, it's so incredible. And I love this is why also I'm so passionate of and committed of working together with you, because even though I personally don't work closely with preteens and young adults, I've shared it with you that I have experienced many instances of just giving the safe space of providing them to express what they think, and knowing that it is okay, even it sounded crazy ideas, but sometimes or most of the cases those crazy ideas is actually the very best step to realize of how much powerful we are. It's just that when we are not surrounded with the right people, then we become so limited.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Um, Before I ask you, give an example, you reminded me of a really important quote that I think a lot of people need to hear. It
Mm,
is, don't surround yourself with people that envy you because you
mm,
treat them like family, but they treat you like
yeah.
competition. So I think that that's something that makes people think more of themselves
Mm-hmm.
and not so much of others and what others think of them,
Yeah,
and not allowing outside influences to affect their success.
it's true, it's true. And for you to build that group of people with like-minded, not only like-minded but really intentional, it takes a lot of experiences and a lot of interaction. And unfortunately, fortunately, you have to experience the bad for you to be able to interact or meet the good ones or the great ones. And again, I would like to rephrase that. There's no such thing as bad or good. It's more about how you see it. And even though it gives you pain, but that pain actually builds you to understand more that these are the values that non-negotiable of the group of people I want to surround it with. And even nowadays, it's becoming more and more crucial for people to really understand what kind of group of people do you really want to be surrounded with. And we're not only talking about building such an incredible portfolio or achievements, but really for long term, because I think personally many people underestimate the importance of values. And that's also part of resilience. If you ignore what you believe in as your core values, then you can be easily rerouted to those things that not really important for you. So thank you for that reminder.
Yeah, absolutely. So now your turn, your success story.
Well, for me, when I was in the beginning of my coaching, I remember I was helping a very incredible young guy based in Africa, and he has a law background. And so he's very attentive and very ambitious, but he also having that pressure in his environment because of his surroundings that very competitive, and he felt that he wasn't good enough, he doesn't have enough network, or he doesn't have enough budget of providing. He wanted to he already built actually at this time a nonprofit organization for young people to bring awareness about sports. And I challenged him at that time, you know, when you want to start to bring awareness, it doesn't matter how fancy, how luxurious your materials. The important is how you express, how you say the words. And we talked about it. It's about you encouraging people and your emotional presence when you're expressing thing. And I know that in our world today it's about fancy glamorous stuff, but if you personally don't have that compassion and dedication and also commitment of doing so, those fancy glamorous things would be nothing because your message doesn't resonate with it, even though it looks amazing. And so in the beginning, he doesn't sound convinced, but I keep on reminding him that just give it a try. Just work on what you have right now and see where it goes. And even though he didn't have enough budget that he wanted to have, he did it anyway. And he's very, very grateful that he did that because putting himself, so he created that event in public, one of the areas in Africa. And then he mentioned to me that it went well. A lot of actually people showed interest and they would also want to be part of it. And that's one of those things. And I was in I was in Spain back then and he was in Africa. And can you imagine? We don't really know each other. And he was telling me, I'm so, so grateful that you're giving me this chance of experiencing coaching as well. Not only that, but setting an example how true leader actually, it's not about your position, your title, your influence in influence in a terms of fame, but more on influence on how you can empower people. And through that, he realized that for me, this is what he's saying, I have to build my self confidence and self esteem to keep on believing in myself, regardless of how big or small materials I have, because I am setting also an example to those young kids or young leaders that I'm helping or mentoring. So I think for me, that was the beginning of empowering for myself as well. And also reminding myself that when you commit yourself to be a leader, you don't need a permission. And people would not like you most of the cases because you're stepping out of our conditioning. So I always challenge people that any external validation that we're seeking for would not be as helpful for us when we have such a big mission and purpose in life. We must get out of the external validation and we must work inside, because through inside, we will recognize that the power is within us. It just, in this case, that's why we're doing this series, is because we want to empower people. We want to remind people to discover or rediscover what already greatness within themselves.
Yeah. No, that's a great story, and of course, I can understand that and appreciate that with the him having the nonprofit. Um,
Mm,
but that's a great way to lead into tips for
yes,
building resilience for both young and older people, because, like you said, resilience is for everybody.
yes,
And right, because we want everybody to be the best that they can be. And one of the things that always stands out to me is something you mentioned in your story was celebrating the little thing.
Mm,
Everybody always wants to celebrate the big win, but it's the little wins that get you to the big win. So you
mm-hmm.
have to stay focused on those, and baby steps leads to the bigger steps, and then it also builds your confidence to take on challenge.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, celebrate small wins and big wins, obviously. And I'm super curious, Antoine, why do you think that we have this mentality or some sort of understanding that it has to be big wins to celebrate and we forget about the small wins? Where do you think that it's coming from? I'm curious.
Oh, I think it's pretty obvious that everybody looks at the people that are in those positions, and
Mm,
they think that they go from, just to say, where I am to where they are overnight.
mm-hmm,
It doesn't happen that way. And I'm sure
mm-hmm,
those people that are there didn't get there overnight. They had baby steps.
mm-hmm,
And athletes are a perfect example. Young people look up to athletes. So when they do great in high school, they got to do great in college.
mm-hmm,
Those are baby steps. And then the next step is the NBA. And
mm-hmm,
so football, same way. You play Pop Warner or Little League, then you play middle school, then you play high school, then you play college, and then you get in the
mm-hmm,
NFL. If you ask any NFL player, how did you get here? Baby steps, not overnight. Hard work,
mm-hmm,
facing their fears,
mm-hmm,
running to the challenge, not from it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think I want to add into that the we've talked about it, the comparison. Given that with the technology that we have, especially for actually, it doesn't have to be only for teens or young adults, but for everyone, because it's very accessible to look at everyone's winning point of view, and so we tend to look at it of what we're missing and instead of focusing on what we can work on more. And I think I would say personally that I think years ago, I tell you honestly, Antoine, I got really addicted with social media that I couldn't stop myself scrolling. And until what, hours? And then and it goes with your mindset and your surroundings, going back to our discussions earlier. And I think when we only looking at the reels, that's already perhaps scripted, or it's not the full story, then we thought that we're missing out. In fact, we hear all the times from the leaders that we are aspiring to be, or those very influential leaders. They would say that what you see in the social media or in media has very, very little reality, very, very little percentage in the real world. And so when it comes to, and I think you've seen it, I think it's a picture or an image or a video whereby it's an iceberg where you can see on top all of those accolades, titles, winning, blah, blah, blah. But people missing out what are those hard work and effort that most of these people have dedicated for themselves, like waking up early in the morning. And so I love to remind and bring that out once again, the small wins. And even in our coaching, right, the small wins, it's equivalent to simplicity, because simplicity goes to what are those tiny things that we can work on today, not in the 100 days, but today.
Today.
So that's a great way to first start with the tips on how we keep helping ourselves to be more resilient.
You have another you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really on. I'm a very systematic person. So I have dedicated time, allocated tasks in every single hour. I mean, it can be too much, but I would suggest people to start their day incredibly putting themselves already of how they feel their day would look like. So, you prepare ahead of time. So you create the momentum ahead of time before it happens. Meaning to say, you can do manifestation, you can do meditation, you can do um, affirmation, all of those things, or mantras, whatever tools that you have, but start with something that elevating your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual behavior rather than looking right away with your phones, because through that phone you're already distracted. So for me, once again, is to start your day on how to elevate your day with productivity. And I won't deny that, in between hours, I get still distracted. It's normal. But again, it's going to resilience, how you bounce back the moment that you realize, oh my God, I've been scrolling for 15 minutes now. Okay, enough for that. Because I think our body or our mind still processing into something like a dopamine just to kind of distract us. But I think for me, the best is the system that you want to build accordingly on a daily basis, the morning and then the afternoon and the evening. At least that works for me. I'm very goal oriented person. That's why high performance. But we don't want to push people not working for them. That's why for me, do whatever works for you. Try first three things that you can work on that you feel. Just for those people who have yet to read the book Atomic Habits, that very, very powerful, because the author will highlight to you those things that you can do that also fun. And we talked about it, right? It
Yeah.
has to be fun, playful, because without that, we feel like we don't want to highlight too much the discipline. Yes, discipline requires in this set of building your resilience, but whatever works for you, and there's no wrong or right in every system that you're building, but it's more on understanding of what works for you, and just experiment, explore, and assess for probably 3 months. And if it doesn't work, then okay, this doesn't work, let me try next.
Yeah.
At least you have more things to explore. And the great thing is that when you're building all of these processes, you also starting to get to know yourself better. And of course, when you experience amazing result, you don't want to just hold it for yourself. You want to share it as well. And that's how knowledge become more powerful, when we share it. So I think, going back to your question, this morning, afternoon, or evening routine will be the most effective that people can start.
That is a great way to lead to my second point, which I think is really important. And you mentioned it, and that is believing yourself
Mm,
and not doubting yourself, because so many people are already being doubted. So if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to? So it has to
mhm,
start with yourself, and that's where you
mm,
build on that. And that's been my experience with the kids that I work with, is teaching them how to believe in themselves and realizing
mhm,
there are going to be ebbs and flows in the process, but it's about working through it, baby steps, and believing in yourself. And then
mhm,
that's where it all grows. Like the example I gave with the young man that in the basketball example, it was baby steps. It took a while, a few
mhm.
more baby steps, but he worked through it. But he started believing in himself, and once he started doing that, rest is history.
And I'm super curious, Antoine, when you mention of believing in yourself. I think it's very important that for people watching or listening right now to understand that we also experiencing this procrastination, this self-doubt. And so I'm super curious on your personal journey. Whenever you caught yourself doubting yourself, say, someone has tested you in school or in event that, you've been doing this, blah, 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 and then they created some statement that you started to question, is that really true? And then it kind of built a little bit of doubt. Have you ever experienced that? If so, how did you respond or handle that situation?
Kind of funny you mentioned that. Years ago, I was working in a different field. I was working in food and beverage industry,
Uh-huh.
and I had an opportunity to get a promotion. And I had the, I guess, the boss, if you will. He told me, he goes, "You're good at this, but you'll never be." He
Oh,
told me that.
mm,
So about 2 years later, I achieved what he said I wouldn't do.
nice.
So I reached out to him to let him know, not to brag, but to say, "Hey, I did this."
Hmm.
You'll never guess what his response was. He took credit for my success, right? But that's just an example of somebody telling me I couldn't do something, but I
Hmm.
did it.
Yeah, that reminded me of it's almost the same thing. Someone, and he was my boss as well. He told me that your attitude won't bring you anywhere, and the attitude was, which still is, I have the courage to speak the truth, to fight for my rights. And I think I have shared this with you when I was in Singapore. Uh, Coming from Philippines at that moment, we are not very well known to have job more in the professionals. It's more on the domestic helpers kind of work. And so I assume and I guess at that moment it wasn't as common for many of Filipino like me to fight back and speak my rights. And I have been really fighting my benefits in that job. And so that's why I got what I wanted. And it's really took me a lot of hard work. But then each time, this is why I love to reiterate this: don't use the statement or the criticism or belittling or discrimination from other people as a victim, but use that as your fuel. That, okay, if that's how you think, let me prove you, not even prove them wrong, but just challenge yourself as well, because we do have the power within us. But also, I guess, you know, that's where the coaching, I feel it's very, very powerful, because in coaching it's all about self-awareness, self-regulation, and understanding yourself more, and giving that space to slow things down. Because when you constantly want to achieve something, and it's very, very normal for high achievers like us, but if we don't slow things down, we might neglect those tiny things that we've been asked to attend as part of our challenges. And because we never attended to that, therefore we constantly experiencing like the same cycle, and we ask ourselves, why this one keep on happening to me? Like what you said, someone keep on or belittling you or discriminating you in this sense. But it's, if I have always this connotation or statement to people: if the situation keeps happening, it means that you have yet to learn. Because if you don't learn it yet, then the universe or the higher sources, whatever you call it, they actually really want us to achieve what we want to achieve, our goals, our desire. But we also have to put the work on it. And I think it can be a little bit sensitive to discuss, but if you want to achieve something that you have yet to achieve, you've got to be a different person.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
agree.
basically what you have proved to yourself and to that person, that I can handle it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's believing in yourself and not letting people discourage you. And we talk about outside influences. That's just a perfect example of that too. But you're absolutely right. It is about breaking a cycle, right?
Yeah.
So to get there.
Yeah. And apart from all of those tips that we have shared from this conversation, resilience, and I think every tips that we have shared workable for teens, young adults, and adults. But I'm very curious, Antoine, when it comes to resilience in this world that we're living, is there any particular thing that most people misunderstood about resilience itself? And in your observation nowadays, not only the parents, but also young and adults, of coping mechanism that we have to challenge that and do it something different.
Well, there's one word that I think ties to what you're asking, and it's communication. Communication. People have
Mm,
to communicate. For young people, you have to get them to talk to you to figure out how to help them.
mm-hmm,
Young adults, you have to have dialogue to figure out where you can help them.
mm-hmm,
When you're talking with adults, I'm assuming in your situation, it's about having dialogue, conversation, sharing, back and
mm-hmm,
forth. Because the more people communicate, the more the more you're able to find that little thing
mm-hmm,
that will make the biggest difference. I know from my perspective, working with kids, that's what it's about. Listening, not judging, and focusing on what they're not expanding on. Because
mm,
the more they talk about, that's what they're comfortable with. It's what they don't. And that's where the building starts from my perspective, working with them.
yeah. I love you mentioned communication. That's very, very important, especially nowadays, because I think we don't have room to be vulnerable most of the cases, and having this, once again, the safe space of what we do, that's how we elevate people. But I think when it comes to at home, everyone wants to be heard, but not everyone wants to lead and initiate to create that safe space. That let's just talk, let's just listen. Everyone gives the permission, the time and space to speak up, and without you saying anything, just taking it. And I think, and I personally do that with myself and with my husband and to other people. And I mean, same thing with you, right? We are very transparent with one another. And I think through that, we also build respect. And I know personal experience, the closest you are to that person, the more triggers, right?
Yeah.
And it's challenging when you both realize that it's becoming intense, and communication is just one thing. I personally believe everyone knows resilience, communication, and all of these things. But what's missing is really the practice, taking action of it, and really be intentional. When you communicate with someone, what is the outcome that you want to see from that conversation? Do you just want to express? But be also transparent with that person. Hey, I want to express something. I just want someone to listen. I don't need advice.
Yeah.
But that takes a lot of awareness as well. And that's why, fortunately, the coaching came into the space, right? It used to be our families, our friends, our colleagues. And because of the technology where everyone becoming more on the competition rather than integrating our skills and talents and work on and supporting one another, I think this is where, even though, as what they said, technology is supposedly helping us to connect, but what's happening is that because of what we provide information online, we become separate and we can't communicate. The communication that we're getting now is, what's that term? Ghosting, or avoiding those hard truth conversation, which I think it's very, very important. But the most important is that we have to work on ourselves first, how we communicate, how we want to be uh, treated in a way of people will respond to us, that we're not being judged and you're not judging them, but we have to practice that. And I think this is where you and I have a space in the long run, in the long episodes that we're going to do is also creating that space where people can just jump in and ask questions and really understanding where the question coming from.
Yeah. No, I think that part is so great. Is people we want people to know that we wanted them to engage.
Yeah.
Sitting there listening to us for an hour is great, but we want to provide substance. We want to provide results. We want to give tips, actionable tips that they can
Mhm.
use to transform their lives, to rise and thrive, and empower their
Wow.
mind. Man,
That's a nice segue.
ooh, I'm good. I'm good. When I'm good, I'm good. When I'm bad, I'm
No, you're not.
bad.
Well,
uh,
we talked about these tips and what's missing, which I love that, the communication. I think we can dive into it more and more in the next episodes that we have. And I'm super curious from this conversation that we had for the last, 45 minutes.
yeah.
What have you discovered about yourself and about myself and about this Rise and Thrive?
Well, first thing is this first time I've gone live and done something like this. So getting over the nerves was a perfect example of facing your fears and
Mm,
overcoming. But the other thing is having finished this first episode, I'm so excited about the next one and the next
mhm.
and the next because it gives you that sense of comfort, which is
Yes.
what we teach and coach with the people that we work with is,
Mm,
being the best you can be, but believing yourself and being comfortable. You
mhm.
know, I wouldn't have done this a year ago. I wouldn't be doing this. No chance. So
Also, sorry?
what about you? What have you got
Well,
with this?
for today, it's all about handling and responding the situation. And I think the beginning, the technical challenge that we had, and this is not the first time. I mean, the only difference is that we put it on live. And the great thing, we are both doing it on podcast platform. And so we know how to handle it. But live is a little bit different. And that's also how you can recognize or discover yourself,
Yeah.
because through unexpected things you will realize yourself, oh my god, why am I behaving this way? Oh, it's because things didn't go as my plan. And it's so frustrating, we have to start it at 4 p.m., it didn't happen, and it kind of brings more nerves. But and for me, it's always elevating the person, on the other side, to ensure that we're doing great. And when I say that, it's also reflecting back to myself that you're doing great, because we want to be seen, we want to be recognized. And I think I have shared this with you. My principle in life, the golden rules, is that how you want to be treated is exactly how you treat other people, and make sure you understand them, not just treating them because sometimes they don't want to be treated that way because of their circumstances. So we better understand first so that we can treat them better, and they want to be treated well. And then so it's just a natural reciprocity or exchange that they want to do the same. And I think that's what I am having and experiencing today, is just, and also the playfulness, having fun. And as I've told you always, I'm
Yeah.
going to make sure that everywhere we go, whenever we work together in any ways, there's always going to be full of fun, full of laughters, full of silliness, because why not? Life is
Yeah.
too serious already. So let's lighten up a little bit with, like what you said, substance,
Yeah.
with actionable tips, but also fun to listen and hearing our conversation.
Yeah. No, I think you're right about that. You got to have fun. Life is too short.
Yeah.
We got to make the most of it. And, there's thing I mentioned to the other time, and this would be a great thing to kind of end with, but is when you wake up and you say it's
Mm.
going to be a great day.
Yes.
No, you wake up and say it is a great day,
Mm.
which means any and everything that happens after that is going to be great.
Yeah,
If you say it's going to be, you're chasing something and you won't know when you find
it will be a great day. And we
it. Yeah.
affirm that.
Oh, it's a great day. Oh, it's a great day.
Yeah.
Great day.
Yay. Well, there you go. I think we covered a lot of stuff right now in terms of our stories, not only our personal stories, but also the success stories of the people that we have touched their lives as well. And, it's a ripple effect. And we also talked about the tips, the actionable tips, and some very powerful quotes or principles in life, all about resilience. And Coach T, for
Yes.
anyone, I think right now, of course, we don't have any questions, but for anyone who are so curious about what you do or
Yes.
how they can connect, where they can possibly connect or reach out for anything they would like to ask you.
Yes, of course. If they look across the bottom of the screen, all of our contact information is there. My website, which is CoachT'sCorner.com, and all of my social media is Coach T's Corner. And in
Mm-hmm.
my website, I have some low content digital products, but I also have coaching programs that people can be a part of. They can reach out. I'd love to
Mm-hmm.
work with you, but also have the Sea of Success Academy, which I have self-paced courses on there, and they're available in three formats: the
Wow.
video, audio, and ebook. And I also have my book, The Sea of Success, The Ultimate Guide
Mm-hmm.
to Success for Preteens and Teens, which is available on Amazon.
And don't forget your podcast and also the
Well,
group.
two podcasts.
Oh,
Uh,
podcast.
yes, Developing Tomorrow's Leaders, and I co-host Teen Speak, Empowering Today's Youth with Keith Senzer.
Mhm.
He and I both are youth empowerment coaches.
Awesome. And what for those professionals out there watching us or listening to us right now, and we mentioned how we connect more and more from the village of inspiration, how they can connect or get in touch or be involved in this village of inspiration, but also what can they expect from it?
Yes. So the Village of Inspiration is a strong, small but powerful group of unselfish leaders. And
Mm-hmm.
these are people that have been guests on my podcast, Developing Tomorrow's Leaders, yours yourself included. And these are all people that want to make a difference. And they
Mm.
are all doing that on a daily basis. And you can reach out to myself or Cindy Marie, and we would love to give you a little bit more about how you can be a part of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And of course, for me, as you can see, same thing. Uh, the social media handle will be Cindy Marie Azur and www.cindymarie.net for my website. And of course, if you are ready and determined to make a change or transformation, expand yourself in a place of, fulfilling your meaningful calling or purposes, and you want to experience the coaching that I do, just don't hesitate to reach out on the website itself so we can have a conversation and see if we can work together. And the same thing, like for Antoine, Empower Your Life with Cindy Marie, that will be my podcast. And as part of my expressing my multi passionate part is that singing. I love to always support any particular events that will bring my singing talent, that will empower more people's lives. And I have been doing that in terms of nonprofit events. So if you feel, of course, you can take a look, different YouTube videos to see if the kind of music or songs that I picked will be valuable for your events, then go ahead and reach out. It's the same either on social media or on the website. And I think, yeah, for me, that's the same thing. And we also part of the Village of Inspiration group, and we would love to welcome you. And we are a very ambitious and determined people to bring out the best of one another. So we're going to collaborate one another when you're ready, you can just reach out to us, and we're definitely gonna, connect with you and see what will be the ideas that we could spark together.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I just neglected to mention that is LinkedIn for those that are
Oh,
wondering
yes.
what it is. Yes.
Yes. Well, there you go. Everyone watching or listening right now for our first episode, we just completed it about resilience. We're not going to share with you anything about the second episode, but what if they have anything in mind, Coach T, that they would love to bring it on the second episode? How they can do it?
Yes, absolutely. You can email me. Or, my email is Coach T at CoachTcorner.com, or you can reach me on any of my social media accounts. But if you have something you'd like for us to talk about, we would love to have it. We haven't decided what we're going to talk about for the next episode. So if you get to it before we do, we'll be talking about what you want to talk about.
Well, there you go. Well, any particular topics that everyone feel that you're getting challenged with, or you're feeling stuck, and it doesn't have to be just for preteens or teens or young adults. It could be for everyone, because we are experiencing different challenges in lives. It's just like a cycle. And everyone's journey is different and unique. Therefore, whatever you are experiencing, it will be valuable for everyone. And we also, the unique about this series is that we're going to share our personal journey. So we want to ensure that we also provide you our authentic sides, not just,
That's
bringing you
what.
to impress you. We want to express that we are all in this together. And thank you so much for everyone watching and tuning in right now. What will be your last message for us today, Coach T, before we say goodbye?
Oh, it's very easy. Believe in yourself, face your challenges, and be prepared to rise and thrive. Not only empower your mind, but your life.
Well, thank you for that message. Very, very empowering, Coach T. And thank you, everyone, once again for watching us or tuning with us today on the first episode. We're going to see you next time with myself, Cindy Marie, and Coach T with this live series, Rise and Thrive.
Empowering your mind.
All right. Thank you,
See ya.
everyone. We'll see you next time.